trying something new and try to review a movie that I just saw, Beetlejuice. And hopefully it does well, and that would be pretty cool. So Tim Burton is a director that I've seen a good amount of movies from. And although he's missed before, I would consider him to be one of my favorite directors. A lot of people consider him to be a fraud when it comes to weird movies, which is fair enough, especially with how some of his recent efforts look, but his aesthetic is still very cool and alluring to me. And one of his biggest movies, and probably his most well liked, is Beetlejuice. A movie about a couple that dies and goes to the afterlife, who try to protect a teenager from getting married from a pedophile Michael Keaton. And it's a great movie. It's probably the most Tim Burton's ever pushed himself into being weird, and it's insanely fun throughout the whole movie. It's not high on my current ranking of his work, but it's still a great movie. And starting last year, they were working on a sequel to this. And honestly, I was a little worried about it. I hadn't seen the first movie in full at the time, but I know a lot of modern sequels to classic movies don't go over very well. And with the trailer coming out, I wasn't too interested in it still. I wasn't going to go out of my way to see it. I wanted my mom to choose a movie to see in theaters, and she decided it was going to be Beetlejuice. She almost went with the new Transformers movie because it looked AI generated to her, which is certainly a reason to see a movie. If I was choosing a movie, I would have gone with The Wild Robot or Never Let Go, personally. And after watching the movie, I'll say it was definitely more than I expected, for better and worse. Starting off with a positive, this movie definitely is weird as hell. Maybe not as much as the first, but it feels very faithful to it in that sense. I think the use of CGI isn't genre or fake feeling at all, like I expected it to. It definitely leads to some very interesting visuals. Not that it wasn't a part of the original movie, but it's way more involved here. It feels like a stylistic mess in terms of what it wants to do, and honestly I mean that as a compliment. It makes it very hard to predict what's going to happen, and elevates everything to feel even crazier. And what definitely helps with the visuals are the set, makeup, and costume design, which are easily my favorite parts in the movie. Just like the original, it makes the afterlife feel so lively and creative. There isn't a single moment where it feels lazy or unimpressive. And these aspects definitely help with the story and the script that I don't really know how to feel about. The movie follows 3 generations of the Dietz family: Lydia, the mom Delia, and the daughter Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega. As they go back to the original movie's house to host a funeral for the dad, who died in a plane crash / shark attack, and the animated sequence for it was done in a way that was so strange that I don't know if I like it or not, but I do kind of respect it because I see what it's going for. This is another example of the movie's multiple attempts at many styles. As a mom had to cancel a showing with a graffiti artist due to his death, he storms off and ends up dying in a pothole. He goes to meet a dead Danny DeVito, who soon unleashes a woman who is later revealed to be Beetlejuice's ex-wife, who poisoned him so he axed her to death. She goes on a killing spree to try and find Beetlejuice. And he finds out through this through a Willem Dafoe sheriff who is more of an actor than an actual cop. He used to be an actor. Meanwhile, in the alive world, Lydia and Astrid have a conflict with each other due to Astrid's dad, / Lydia's ex-husband, being dead. And Lydia is being called a fraud because she can't see him, but she can see ghosts for a show. She's also dating a dickhead named Rory, who proposes to her at her dad's funeral. Astrid meets this one guy she has a crush on who ends up being a ghost who murdered his parents and tries to swap lives with her. Lydia tries to save her by teaming up with Beetlejuice, and a bunch of other shit happens that I don't feel like explaining. It's like too much. And I feel like that's why I don't feel too strongly about this story, because unlike its different styles, the several plots and characters don't really pay off like they should. Especially the part with Beetlejuice's ex, because although she drives a lot of the story, she almost feels like an afterthought in the grand scheme of it all. And I also thought the killer ghost subplot was kind of just ended abruptly, and not too well developed. Maybe if it was longer than an hour and 40 minutes, it could have been fleshed out better. But as it is, although I wouldn't call it a bad story, it does take away from the movie a lot. As for the script itself, it's very hit or miss. You get a lot of great jokes, mainly delivered from Michael Keaton, Catherine O'Hara, and Willem Dafoe, who all also give great performances. But there's many jokes that just don't hit or do kind of work, but last way too long. Like the wedding scene with the lip syncing specifically was pretty solid, but it just felt really tiring about halfway through. Also thought the soul train parts were kind of fun, but knowing that Tim Burton is racist didn't really feel very genuine. But a few of the jokes did make me laugh, and some of the ones that didn't were still pretty solid and fun. Catherine O'Hara especially elevated her already great jokes into something else with her acting. One actor I wasn't a fan of was Jenna Ortega's Astrid, who did give a fine performance, but her writing felt like a wannabe Juno. Except that's how a lot of people view Juno's character, instead of actually being like her. Thought she would be one of the better parts of the movie, but she ended up being one of the weakest. And that's all I really have to say about this movie. Had a lot of fun moments, but plenty of things that held it back for me. But I think I would lean closer to saying I enjoyed it more than I didn't. 6 out of 10. Probably the best movie Burton has made in the past 2 decades. But I haven't seen most of them, so I want to know.
What color is a carrot?
Carrot? I think it's a carrot. Carrot, but I don't know about carrots. I don't know nothing about that.